Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. Through many dangers, toils, and snares, I have already come. Its grace has brought me safe thus far, and grace will lead me home. We've been here 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun. We've no less days to sing God's praise than when we first begun. This last part's a sing-along, you know the words. Here we go. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found. Was blind, but now I see. Was blind, but now I see. Was blind, but now I see.
And now, Chick will light the Advent calendar for peace. Chick.
Good morning. Today, the second Sunday in Advent, we light the candle of peace. Peace I leave with you. My peace I give unto you. I do not give you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not let them be afraid. John 14:27. And so it is.
And now, for a centering prayer, it's Ted Loder's Breathe Into Me, which I've modified for us today. O Spirit, empty me of angry judgments and aching disappointments and anxious trying and pain, and breathe into me something like quietness and confidence, that the lion and the lamb in me may lie down together and be led by a trust as straightforward as a little child. Catch my pride and fear and pain off guard, that at least for the moment, I may sense your presence and your caring, that I may sense the peace you offer and be surprised by a sudden joy rising in me now to sustain me in the coming end. And so it is.
We all make mistakes, but we don't know if tomorrow's day will ever break. We all break down when we let go of the hold and let our defenses down. We don't know if we have another day. So forgive and let go and don't be afraid. Don't waste any more time. Don't waste any more time. Don't waste any more time fighting with me. Fear robs your soul. It tells you lies and it never lets go. So fill your heart with love, and you wake up to find that love's enough. Don't waste any more time. No, don't waste any more time. Don't waste any more time fighting with me. Beyond the words, the names, the hurting and the silence, I know we're always on the same team. Holding on to being right only feeds the violence. Surrender your heart and believe, and you'll see that love's enough. Don't waste time. Don't waste time. Don't waste any more time fighting. No, don't waste any more time fighting. Don't waste any more time fighting with me.
Good morning, everyone. I'm so grateful to be your speaker this morning. Grateful to be sharing the platform with Roy and with Anne-Margaret. Perfect music for my talk this morning. So the title of my talk is Growing Onward. So let's not waste any more time. Let's get into it. This talk is really a continuation of shuffling off this mortal coil. As Eric Butterworth says, quote, "The important thing is to keep alive as long as we live. It is a commitment to grow onward rather than to simply grow old." And later, "If you flow with life, every year is a fascinating challenge, full of adventure and discovery." Having just turned 75, growing onward is very much on my mind. Quite some time ago, Reverend Sandy gave a talk based on Deepak Chopra's Metahuman, and I have used many of the ideas in this book as a basis for growing onward. Meta means beyond, so beyond human. Christopher and I happened into the movie The Phantom Tollbooth one day. It's a children's movie based on the book, and the Phantom Tollbooth takes us to the land of beyond. So let's hop in the toll booth and let it transport us to beyond. Quote, "The transformation that makes you metahuman is known in the world's spiritual traditions as waking up." But what are we waking up from? Perhaps the contradictions involved in being human. We seem to be designed to both love and hate, preach peace and practice violence, swing between happiness and despair, and lead lives governed by confidence one moment and self-doubt the next. What keeps people moving forward is the routine of everyday life and the hope that nothing horrible goes wrong. So disaster control or cleanup as a way of life. Too many of us have experienced that. This, though, is perhaps what starts the waking up process. Restlessness, discontent with the status quo, and a feeling that there must be something more, something beyond. Interesting that the beyond is usually found within. I was originally going to call this talk, "Ah, sweet mystery of life, at last I found thee," and then thought better of it. But it's true. We have found the mystery of life, and where did we find it? Within. Chopra says the world that we live in is an illusion created by the mind. The mind learns to read, not the brain. Likewise, anything you see around you, an elm tree, a Belgian chocolate bar, a church, or a cemetery, acquires meaning because your mind gives it meaning. Our mind created this illusion that we live in, for the most part based on a sort of collective story that we can all agree on. In other words, we inherited it. Our default response is automatic and often ingrained and rigid, becoming more so as we age and buy into the idea that our bodies are winding down on all levels. But as Chopra says, consciousness is everywhere, always, and everything. If that's true, then you are everywhere, always, and everything. And we have the ability to reimagine it and thereby recreate our lives. As he says, the body conforms to mind-made reality. And this reminds me of the affirmation that Myrtle Fillmore used to cure her tuberculosis. "I am a child of God and I do not inherit sickness." She woke up to the fact that she could create a different reality for herself and for many others. Jesus was constantly recreating what people thought was real. Water into wine at the wedding of Cana. Here, even though Jesus says he's not ready, it's not his time. His mother knew he was ready. He'd probably always been ready, knowing why he was on earth and what his purpose was from an early age. Who knows why he said it was not his time? But it makes us think about how many times in our lives we might have said, "I'm not ready yet," or "it's just not a good time." Sometimes that's probably true, and sometimes it's possibly fear talking. The December 1 daily word was fearless. It reads in part, "Unlike fear, awareness keeps me present and responsive. I pay attention to the fearful feelings and tune into the messages my distress is sending me. Any fear I feel may inform my awareness, but it does not control my actions." The loaves and fishes. Then Jesus took the loaves, and when he had given thanks, he distributed to those who were seated, so also the fish, as much as they wanted. John 6:11. Raising Lazarus from the dead. "Lazarus, come out." The dead man came out, his hands and feet bound with strips of cloth and his face wrapped in cloth. Jesus said to them, "Unbind him and let him go." John 11:43-44. And then he told us, "Very truly I tell you, the one who believes in me will also do the works I do, and in fact will do greater works than these, because I am going to the Father." John 14:12. He was definitely metahuman, living in meta-reality. A lot of our Unity publications seem to have the phrase, "It's not I, but the Christ within who does the work." I couldn't find the source for it, so I went to my source, K. Wood, and asked. It's John 14:10. The Father that dwells in me, he does the work. And how does this relate to growing onward? Knowing that we don't have to accept the idea that as our bodies grow older, we must expect and accept certain limitations, especially those limitations that tell us we are no longer creative and vibrant. Quote, you can accept how fleeting every experience is, or you can hold on to it. When you choose the first option, life is a flow of fresh experiences, like a stream constantly renewed at the source. You are not haunted by bad memories or filled with anxiety about what might happen. It often happens that as we grow onward, certain things that used to bug us or worry us or seem like insurmountable obstacles just don't matter anymore. We're free or liberated from the constraints and expectations of youth. All those collective stories we bought into about how we should behave and what was important. The challenge is to grow onward and not buy into the I'm old and useless story. Our son Christopher, who was in special ed for all his 12 years in school, went back several years later to give a graduation talk at his elementary school. He called it the ABCs of success. A stood for acceptance, accept your limitations. B stood for believe in yourself. And C stood for compensation. Learn to compensate for your limitations. For me, one aspect of my aging body is that my balance is not nearly as good as it used to be, and it can be a limitation. I believe in my ability to continue to live an active, creative life, and I compensate by always holding onto the railing while going up and down the stairs. And if I'm carrying several things up or down, I might use a tote bag so that I have one hand free. At the beginning of Metahuman, there's a questionnaire that allows us to evaluate where we are in terms of metahuman consciousness. It's obvious which answers are going to come up with a high score. After the first 3 or 4 questions, when I took it, I realized that I was lowballing myself, and guess what? I got a pretty high score. Reverend Clyde Delaporte's message on November 14, What is Your Name?, is entirely about metahuman consciousness, which we in New Thought would identify as working from the I am and not from the ego, which he pointed out metaphysically is represented by Egypt. We are enslaved by the ego. In truth, spelled with a capital T, most of the messages that we hear on Sunday mornings are not so much about evolving into metahuman, but rather allowing that consciousness to come forward and be our modus operandi. Those of us in Unity already have an advantage. We have several tools to use: the 5 principles, denials and affirmations, the 12 powers, are we sizzling with zeal and enthusiasm today? Not to mention prayer and meditation, and the fellowship of like-minded people. And thank goodness we do. I find that I need to check in sometimes several times a day to discern whether it's my ego or my inner wisdom. Usually, if I need to take a pause, it's because my ego is in the way. I love what Reverend Carstetter said on November 7th. The finish line is for the ego, the journey is for the soul. Fortunately, those of us who are students of metaphysics beyond the physical, and in the metahuman view, there is only the journey. There is no end. When all is said and done, I suppose Metahuman could be considered a self-help book. He points out that it all comes down to awareness and provides 5 steps which can work as a meditation to balance and center ourselves. They are: 1, awareness of body; 2, awareness of bodily processes; 3, awareness of the body as inner space; 4, expanding inner space beyond the skin; and 5, resting in wholeness. The book also has a month of awakening with 31 daily practices at the end. I suppose Lessons in Truth could be considered a self-help book, as it has practices in it. The idea of letting go of our stories as a means of stepping into the flow of life and living life from a place of consciousness instead of a place of ego resonates deeply. Which brings us to A Course in Miracles. Lesson 1. This table does not mean anything. This door does not mean anything, etc. Lesson 151. All things are echoes of the voice of God. Lesson 360. Peace be to me, the Holy Son of God. Peace to my brother, who is one with me. Let all the world be blessed with peace through us. Could there be any better way to arrive at metahuman consciousness? Probably not. Chopra writes, there is a law of spiritual and mental growth constantly at work in the mind, a law that is raising man from sense consciousness to spiritual consciousness. One of our 12 powers is order, and Charles Fillmore writes, the divine law of order emphasizes our overcoming power, thereby abolishing fear and despair. Sickness and weakness are never to be recognized as having a place in divine law and order. Health and freedom are always the outworkings of God's wondrous plan. In short, while we apparently are undergoing continual change, both physically and mentally, the changeless law of order is operating in the spiritual depths of being. Our desire to grow onward bubbles up from those spiritual depths. It is perhaps an allowing on our part, allowing ourselves to step into the flow and remain creative and vital, or as Butterworth says, the important thing is not what happens to people, but what happens within them. If we are in the flow of life, we will live creatively in work or in retirement. There was an article in the health and science section of the Washington Post recently called Thoughts of a Wellness Guru on Nearing 100. Her advice, cultivate younger friends and stop doing anything you don't have to do if it doesn't give you pleasure. Good advice. I thought about this for a while. Do I love cleaning the kitchen floor? No. So I asked myself, do I love having a clean kitchen floor? Yes. And I tried to find joy in the cleaning. One of the 12 Zen things is make cooking and cleaning become meditation. Good advice for me is I'm always trying to just get it done. One early morning while driving Chick to work, there was a full moon above the horizon in the west, with dawn just beginning to break in the east. So beautiful. I mention this because I think our ability to find beauty all around us in nature and people, and perhaps most importantly, in ourselves, is one of the keys to metahuman consciousness working in, through, and as us. I later learned that the November full moon is called the Beaver Moon and that there had been a near total eclipse, which I realized I had seen the end of while walking earlier in the morning. Extraordinary. There are many other examples besides Jesus of metahumans throughout the ages. Some of the obvious ones are Muhammad, the greatest wealth is the richness of the soul. Gandhi, be the change that you wish to see in the world. Buddha, radiate boundless love toward the entire world. Thich Nhat Hanh, because you are alive, everything is possible. And true happiness is based on peace. Charles Fillmore, let the God within you express itself through you in the world and without. Myrtle Fillmore, there is no discord in my being. Being is peace. Lafayette Seymour, I am the cosmic Christ law of forgiveness and the consuming flame of all inharmonious action and human consciousness. More metahuman examples are sitting right here in this Zoom room. So as we heard, as I heard in the movie, words are only too much when you use a lot to say a little. I've probably used more than my quota this morning, and according to Microsoft Word, my talk is 2,369 words long. So I think that's quite enough. So today, being the second Sunday in Advent, the theme is peace. And we will use the song, Let There Be Peace on Earth, for our meditation. So let's get centered with a couple of deep breaths. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as creator, we are family. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my solemn vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. And now can you please sit in the silence for a moment and let that resonate within us. Lesson 360. Peace be to me, the Holy Son of God. Peace to my brother, who is one with me. Let all the world be blessed with peace through us. And so it is, and so it will always be. Amen.
Sometimes it's difficult to hear the blessing in the lesson. Sometimes it's too hard to see the hand of God pointing the way. The blessings come to everyone if we can just get out of the way. Help me to believe the truth about me, no matter how beautiful. Sometimes when I look in the mirror, I don't like what I see. Sometimes my eyes are blinded to the beauty within me. Or will there ever come a day when I can just get out of the way? Help me to believe the truth about me, no matter how beautiful, how beautiful. Then we'll all live together in peace and harmony, reminding each other when we're too blind to see the beauty within you and the difference we can make beautiful. How beautiful. You're beautiful. We're all
Sure. It's called the Aspiration Prayer, and it's by Larry Yang and me. May I be as loving in this moment as I can. If I cannot be loving in this moment, may I be kind. If I cannot be kind, may I be non-judgmental. If I cannot be non-judgmental, may I not cause harm. If it cannot not cause harm, may I cause the least possible harm. May I claim peace and flow towards my highest self as I grow onward, ever onward to who I am. And so it is.